heard Corny Movies of the 80s Part 1. You heard Corny Movies of the 80s Part 2. But now, Old Skool Movements brings to you Corny Movies of the 90s with Chris, Darren, and Stacks. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, it's us again. Old Skool Movement is back. And this episode, we're staying on corny movies because we're just frustrated with all these cack movies that we saw when we were young. And we just want to tell you guys again of what we thought was cack, but moving now to the 90s. We could have continued in the 80s and told you more, but we just want to switch it up and come back and forth as we go. And come back.
Drop a few 90s ones now.
Here in the 90s, but there was some corn in the 90s. Yeah. It still felt like 80s. They thought they had the technology to make good films, and it still wasn't there yet. So, we're going to run down our corny movies of the 1990s. So, Chris, man, you good?
Where should we start? Yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm good.
So, the 90s, man, it was a time when, you know, they thought they had the technology, the directors, the storylines now to make
graphics
good movies, you know, but they still weren't there, and there were so many that they tried to get into the remake versions of comic book films and sequels and superheroes, but it was still bad. They
weren't ready yet.
Still didn't hit the nail on the head.
They weren't ready yet.
And I remember in the 90s, you know, maybe in the late 80s, coming up to the 90s, and through the 90s, reading these comics. You know, they weren't Marvel, they weren't DC. Another style comic, you had the Rogue Trooper, you had Judge Death, but, you know, who everybody used to read from 2000 AD was Judge Dredd, man. Reading these comics were big, man. You know, this guy took no crap of no one. So there was no cartoons, there was no action figures. It was just always a comic book. And it was from a next level, you know. And so when you hear them bringing out film, you're like, damn, this is going to be big.
It's going to be good, yeah.
And even though you heard Stallone's going to be it, like at that time you think, okay, it's Stallone, it's Judge Dredd. How can this go wrong?
Should be all right. Wow.
Boy, did it go wrong, man. It's like, what's you guys' thoughts on that, man? Do you agree?
Yeah, I agree. I think it was weak. Seriously weak.
For me, the comic book, you didn't see Dredd without his helmet. It was always on. This film is always off because you had to see it.
Stallone.
Stallone was bigger than Judge Dredd, which is not the case. It's like, I don't know. I think maybe a different lead. It could have been something different, but yeah, at the time, even for a Stallone film, I weren't.
I am the law.
Yeah, it weren't good.
It had nothing. It didn't. It wasn't like how I pictured reading the comic books. No. It was just.
I think for the director, it was the same. Director Danny Cannon, he was so angry with the disputes he was having with Stallone. You know, he said that he's never going to work with them big name Hollywood actors anymore. And the final version was nothing like the one that was originally scripted. So, you know, it could have been a lot more better than what it was. But I think Stallone got too involved.
I think it's just bad timing because when they made a Judge Dredd film about years later, I think that version was much better. The Carl Urban version was much better. It felt like. Have you guys seen it?
Yeah.
The newer version.
Yeah,
it felt like Judge Dredd.
I could do it watching
the
version
of Judge
Dredd.
Dredd.
Seen that once.
It's a good movie. It's a good movie. Much better than the
that one was terrible. It was another one. I think we spoke about this in one of the earlier podcasts. Another one that was shot all in the UK. So it rained all the time. So every shot again, they had to keep it wet, even if it hadn't rained, just for continuity with the editing. And Danny Cannon, again, the director, he wasn't allowed back for any of the post-production reshots or any of the editing, so he didn't have much say into the finished article. I don't think it was overseen by others.
Okay,
which is a reason why it's bad, man.
It was bad. Terrible. It was bad, and as I was saying earlier, it was a bad time in the 90s to make superhero films. So we're going to stay on a couple of corny superhero films, man, in the 90s. It's bad timing. It should have never been released. They tried to release Black Panther in the 90s with Wesley Snipes as Black Panther, and I'm so glad they didn't, because they would have messed it up just how they messed up Spawn. Yeah. Now, you guys remember Spawn? Spawn was such a good idea, but Chris, man, why is it on the list, man? Tell us why it's on the list, man.
I remember it myself.
Look, Spawn.
All I remember is Al Simmons.
That Spawn was
the first sort of black actor as a superhero as well, wasn't it, at the time?
Yeah, mainstream. But yeah, I remember Shaq had a film called Steel.
Yeah. Wasn't he
Shaq was superhero.
He had like some magic powers in it or something.
He had a hammer or something.
It weren't good.
Yeah, but Spawn was on that. Again, is a Todd McFarlane comics, so it's in that 2000 AD vein. That there's dark comics, and
that's what I said. He was the first black actor to do a comic book superhero. There was Meteor Man before, and you're probably all going to remember Blank Man from the early 90s.
Yeah, a comedy
one.
One
of the Marlon Wayans or one of the Wayans brothers. But this was the first comic book superhero. So I remember it for that.
You know, it just didn't work, man.
No, it didn't work.
It just didn't. It wasn't going nowhere. It didn't move nowhere. And I tried to like it. And again, people might say, no, it's a cult classic, whatever. But again, I heard they're gonna make a newer version.
There is a new version, Jamie Foxx.
But it was
yeah, Jamie Foxx. Will Smith was meant to have done this one.
Right.
He was doing Men in Black. Time,
right.
And it just clashed, so he turned it down for Men in Black.
It was such a letdown, but I had so much high hopes for it, man. But it's a shame that it didn't fulfill what it promised,
what it could have done,
and that's why it
could have been good.
Corny top 10 movies. You understand? Corny feels bad.
Keeping it with the superheroes. And now do you remember the early Captain America,
mate?
The early Captain America that one really
was so cool.
You do need to forget.
If you watch this, if you look at the guy who played Captain America again, he looks like Steve Bruce. You're a Newcastle manager. Have a look.
He does look
Stacks, have a look at this guy who played Captain America in the 90s. It's like Steve Bruce.
He does, yeah.
With blonde hair.
I think Matt Salinger.
Mate.
Matt Salinger.
What
his name was.
It was so bad. It
was bad.
Like Marvel were down.
It was bad.
Marvel just didn't know how to make movies in the 90s, man. The casting,
they struggled them.
it was so bad.
It was on, this is better, but it was on the same par as Spider-Man TV show, sort of. Effects and the way it was shot.
But it was a movie.
And
they tried to link, I remember they tried to link up with 4. They had a 4 one.
I remember the Red Skull was in it. That was the enemy, wasn't it? And the effects of him, and I remember that bit was alright, but it was mainly the Captain America. Like, it was, the suit was more like how Batman for today, that tight rubberized. It was that, but
it was Steve Bruce in a blue outfit.
And I heard that he complained that the outfit used to rub his ears, so they made a new hat that hasn't got the ears cut out, and they put stick-on ears. So if you look closely at any screenshots, Google it now. Have a look. Zoom into the ears. They're rubber ears stuck to the side of his hat to make it look like his own ears.
It was
messed up. Again, that was originally meant to be Val Kilmer considered playing it originally, but he was doing The Doors at the time. So luckily he got out of it.
that.
And then I think also approached was Schwarzenegger and Dolph Lundgren. But Dolph Lundgren was doing Punisher, which I think that was that Marvel as well at the time. That was another Marvel one, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that clashed with him doing it. So it Steve Bruce ended up signing up.
Mate, that was bad. That was bad. Sticking with the superheroes, man. Now Tim Burton, when he brought Batman back to the screen in 1989. Cool, that's cool. Not much action in it, but it's cool.
It was cool.
Batman Return comes in about early 90s.
I think
that's cool. It was a little bit darker as well.
I thought that was a good sequel.
Yeah,
it's a good sequel. Penguin, Dan DeVito, Michelle Pfeiffer. I thought that was good. What's his name? Christopher Walken.
It sort of followed what we were used to of the early TV shows. They had them characters.
Yeah, them characters.
But they kept it nice and dark.
They kept it dark at the same time. I think Batman Returns was good. They let go of Tim Burton. And they found new directors, and they just crushed Batman movies. Yeah. Until Christopher Nolan came back to save it, but up until then, all of them in a bunch have to be in the 90s corny movies, man, because they were so bad, and there was so much hype behind every Batman movie that came after the Tim Burton films, and they tried to take it back to the 60s, colourful days, camp days,
Kapow!
And it was horrible. The execution. And they kept on... It was like the Batman franchise was owned by Chelsea Football Club. They kept on changing the Batman. They never could keep Batman. They just kept on changing it. Every season, just change.
Different actor.
Just different actor all the time.
Yeah. So these are like the ones where he was Batman and Robin days and
all
the one with Mr. Freeze.
Like Val Kilmer played Batman and George Clooney played Batman.
I forgot about Clooney played him. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. They went through some.
The one with Jim Carrey and I think it started from
The
that.
Riddler one. Yeah,
The Riddler one.
It was horrible.
And then it was Schwarzenegger after that one.
There was a few in that row that were...
Schwarzenegger one was terrible.
Really bad film. Really
Mr.
bad.
Freeze.
Yeah. I hate when people talk during the movies. It's a bit when you freeze someone they come into the room to say something. But
they were bad.
No. But all them Batman films, terrible. And they introduced Bane in there. It was just corny. It was bad.
It's another franchise that they just keep starting back at the beginning.
Yeah.
They do a few. No, they start
annoying.
again. And sort of Spider-Man seems to be getting the same. It's like we're going to do a few good ones and then we're going to start again.
No one wants to know the story. We know how he turned to Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Just move on now.
New stuff, man.
And that's why the 90s is just compiled with so many failures or sequels. Or still failed sequels, man. Alien 3.
Alien 3 was...
Alien 1 and 2.
Which one was
when
Alien 3
she was in the prison.
The prison
Oh,
one.
yeah, that one.
Alien 1 and 2 were such good films.
Yeah.
Like, how could your third one be so bad?
That was
Crash
bad.
Land
It was like they said, look, we're not
maximum
spending any money.
prison.
We're just going to get an old desolate prison and just shoot a film.
Yeah.
Just see what happens.
I hated it from the outstart. They killed Hicks off straight away. Hicks was one of my favourite characters from Aliens. Killed him off straight away at the start of that one, I think.
It was really bad. It was really bad. And that was... There's big anticipation for that movie at the time. I remember a lot of people excited to see it because Aliens was such a good film. It was like, the only way is up from here. Do you know what I mean? And it was like, it was bad.
I think all of them from that one on, including like
they all got
Prometheus
bad.
and all of that.
The tone just changed and it just...
But Sigourney Weaver, for 3 onwards, she's refused to handle any firearms because she's part... In real life, she's part of that anti-gun stuff, so she won't film with firearms. So 1 and 2, she had all the big guns. Where 3, she didn't have nothing, did she?
Yeah, they were.
And there were some bits that was shot. I think they actually used, or it seemed like they used computer game footage. There was bits where the xenomorph things were running around, and you were looking at from their eyes, them running around the corridors and stuff, and it looked like it was the footage from the computer games. It was terrible.
I just remember
terrible, man.
I just remember it was being bad.
It was terrible. It done all right at the box office though. It made $160 million, really, just under.
Yeah, that's because everyone rushed that same bloody night,
thinking it's going to be
it's going to be big.
Yeah,
and that's probably where it made all this money. Because by next week we'll say this shit. Don't go and see it. Get on pirate. Get off the video. Get off the video, van man.
Video van man.
Understand? Let's stay on sequels, man.
Aliens 3.
And bloody hell, mate. Rocky 5, man.
Rocky 5. It's Tommy Gunn, that one.
You know me and Rocky already.
You don't even step this Stallone film.
Films.
But after Rocky 1 to 4 was good, man. And that's in the 80s. And then they brought Rocky to the 90s. Tommy Gunn.
He's got a clanger like in every decade.
Mate.
That was a bad one.
So bad. So bad. Where was that film going? What was the point of it?
I don't know. Was that the one where he was diagnosed with some sort of eye injury from the last Rocky 4 fights, and if he fights again, he could kill himself.
Yeah, and they fight on the street or something. He ends up having
a street fight with his person that he's meant to be training, which he was a real boxer at the time, wasn't he, that Tommy Gunn dude?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I weren't liking that one at all. I remember Stallone saying on Jonathan Ross that rated out of 1 out of 10, he gives that a 0. Don't even gives that a point. That's
Mate, it was just a payday. It was just a payday. The soundtrack was the worst Rocky soundtrack ever.
It's the only Rocky as well, a little fact about that, where they use his first name. You ever heard Rocky's first name?
What's his name?
You think it's Rocky Balboa, isn't it? That's what we all know.
Bill.
Not Robert, apparently. There's a bit in it. Remember there's like a pimp-looking dude who comes up in a limousine with a feathery... He says Robert Balboa or something, and it's the first time you hear his full name.
I've never knew that.
Yeah.
I knew his name was Robert. Did you know Stats?
Robert Balboa.
You don't care, do you?
It's the only film where it's ever been
You don't
mentioned.
care.
And the plan was that Rocky would die in an ambulance on the way to hospital at the end, with Adrian at his side. At the hospital, Adrian would announce to the world of Rocky's passing, and then.
But they thought about money, and they thought, let's carry on with more Rocky films.
Yeah.
And then Creed.
But again, it was Stallone that said no. That we're not having that ending. I think that it was written. That was how it was gonna. He was gonna get killed off.
Yeah,
in
he
5.
wanted to make more money, man.
Yeah, but no, he said no. That ain't happening.
Wanted to keep that spinning.
Kill that one
man.
off. Kill that one off.
Like I say, like staying on to the sequels, keeping things spinning, man. Now this film came out at the end of the 90s, and this must have been probably the most anticipated film in the history of film because of the 3 films that were before it. Now the 3 films that before it spawned the world of franchise, of toys, of lunchboxes, of bedclothes, of everything.
You name it.
This is the pinnacle of movie in the 80s, and you all know it, and that's the Star Wars franchise. Now, when the 90s came along now, and there's announcements of the Phantom Menace, everybody's excited for this film, man. Everybody wants to see this film. New Star Wars.
It's been years.
It's going back. We always knew we were going to see the story of Darth Vader, whatever. And we looked at this film, and mate, it was a big disappointment.
It was a big disappointment. Yeah.
It was just an advert of CGI.
It's
like
CGI
look what's going to happen in the future.
Yeah,
that's what it really was.
This is how the films are going to be watching.
And Star Wars fans, here's a bit of Darth Vader when he was young.
Yeah.
That's all it really was.
Yeah.
And
if it weren't for the score and maybe the odd sound effect, like
I have some really good sound effects in that.
the podcast.
Pod
chasers?
Yeah.
Pod racers.
Pod racing scene.
Yeah.
That all of that, the sound effects,
And
I was watching that at the cinema. That was big.
That other, what was that? Was it Boba Fett had that? That gun or whatever from his ship when they were chasing.
No, that's
through
the
the
second
asteroids.
one. That's the second one.
Is that the second one?
Yeah, that's Attack of the Clones. That come out in the noughties.
Pod racing's the biggest bit that I can remember in this film. That was like the climax of we're going to spend all the money on this and these effects and do this.
Because apparently George Lucas is a big racing fan, so he wanted to put a space,
do some sort of space
race,
which I like that bit, and just purely for the way the machines look, the characters, and mainly for the sound effects. The Bulba, and but the rest of the film was weak.
It was
man.
apart from Watto
was kind of good.
Yeah.
Apart from him. And mate, it was just I can't, mate.
That was bad.
Yeah, it's just him. I just couldn't. I just couldn't. It was a big letdown.
I think it was a big letdown for the little boy as well. His life, it changed him. You know,
I haven't seen him since. What's he doing?
He won't do films again. I don't think because of that. Because the stick he took
for one film. He ain't done one film.
I only saw him do that. Jake Lloyd, wasn't it? Jake Lloyd, little boy. Yeah, as far as I know, from people taking the mickey out of him, making lightsaber noises at him, or getting into trouble, I suppose, of people jealousy, whatever, and stuff.
That's crazy.
That's crazy, man.
He went on a bit of a mad one, I think, to be honest.
That's okay.
Yeah. Apparently he's all right now because he's been back. He's done some Comic-Con, some book signings and stuff. So he must be back. But yeah, probably he destroyed all of his Star Wars memorabilia, all the toys he had.
I thought that would have happened to Jar Jar Binks.
Isn't it?
Jar Jar Binks got some stick, man.
He was a terrible character.
Oh my god.
Was Mace Windu in this one?
Yeah, he's in all of them.
He's in all of them three, isn't it? Yeah. They originally tried getting Tupac to be Mace Windu, I think I heard as well.
They?
Yeah. It should have been funny. But I think he got murdered the same year as they were making it, I think 96.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, Phantom Menace.
But it done massive at the box office though. Millions.
Of course it would.
Hundreds of millions.
The name it's attached to, it's always going to...
But it didn't live up to
true fans. If you wanted excitement and you know what you were expecting, I'd rather see Yoda when he was puppet than this CGI. It just didn't. I just didn't connect with it. And
seeing Ewan McGregor and who's the other guy? Bloody Taken bloke, Liam Neeson. Like, man, you know, I don't know. I'm not feeling it too much.
Yeah.
I remember hearing the story that Ewan McGregor, when he found out he was in it, he was at a all-night party at Noel Gallagher's house, and Noel Gallagher had some lightsabers, so they started practicing lightsaber battles in the garden, which is quite a mad thing.
Yeah, but mate, weren't feeling it. Weren't feeling it.
What about RoboCop 3?
RoboCop 3.
That's another one.
After the other two being, well, the second one wasn't great.
It wasn't great.
Second wasn't great,
but it was okay.
It was watchable.
But seeing him on that motorbike, that weren't on.
Oh my god!
No. For me, there was a scene where you get a glimpse of a jetpack. And straight away, you're thinking, please don't use that. Please don't use that. Next minute, he's flying around the skies.
Yes.
It's like, what?
But one of them cack jetpacks and a full guy check.
Yeah.
Them slow NASA ones. Them slow ones.
It was slow, but it wasn't it was like a Boba Fett one. It was on his back, and it made him like go. He was going straight like Superman.
Mate,
no, it weren't good.
I
And
don't
the
even know-
effects that they done of him flying didn't look great either, which added to it even
He
more.
looked heavy in the
He
air.
looked heavy in the air. He didn't look
He
odd.
didn't look like he was gliding
looked
like
odd.
Iron Man or something. It looked heavy in the air.
Man.
It was just... I don't even know what the film was about.
No.
I don't know. I know I've seen it and I thought this is terrible. But I ain't got a clue.
He had to evict some people who wanted to buy some land. It was that bad. This is how low they're getting with the stories now.
He had to evict people.
He was trying to evict some people from a land that they were trying to repossess or something like that. It was something to do with that. But it was bad, man. 1993. The film was done in 91, but Orion, you remember Orion Films, wasn't it? They went bust. They went bust right as this was getting launched in 93, so it was obviously one of their last, running out of money films. But I remember one scene that some kids or some bloke doused him in petrol, Robocop in petrol, and set light to him, and then for a good chunk of the movie, he gets put out, but for a good chunk of the movie, he's covered in soot, and his face has got like a soot blast, like how Wile E. Coyote used to look like, when the Acme bomb goes off. And they kept him looking like that for a lot of the scenes. It just looked stupid, man.
Riding a motorbike.
And it was a different Robocop, and it weren't Paul, not Paul Weller, that's the singer. Peter Weller. Yeah, not Paul Weller.
Oh yeah, it was a different.
It was a different bloke.
It?
Yeah, and obviously I think something must have happened, and Peter Weller must have walked out because that suit was built for him. So this new guy apparently had trouble getting into the suit. He complained that it was too tight, and I can't stand up in it long. And so I think we'll have to make him have a bike or make him have a jetpack. It was terrible, man.
This suit is giving me trouble. Oh mate, Robocop 3 was really. I'll say the 90's was full of corn, and I'll say they tried to jump on the bandwagon of superheroes and even computer games. Now, the Mario Brothers film came out. I can't remember that, but I know that was corny as hell. And then after that, the sacrilege of trying to bring out a movie of Street Fighter was just how they destroyed.
On paper, that could do so well.
Yeah, on paper
you could do well.
Well, the manga version was.
The manga cartoon was amazing.
Brilliant.
That was
compared to this. I don't know what it was. It was
the
so
casting. What was the casting about?
It was so bad. It was so bad.
Like Kylie Minogue in it.
Kylie Minogue was in it. She was meant to play Cammy, which was meant to be an English
soldier.
And she's Australian.
Australian, and then you had Van Damme, who's supposed to be an American
Guile.
American guy.
GI.
Yeah. It was just all over the place. Like no character looked like the Ryo and Ken in it were terrible.
They were terrible. They should have been main characters.
They were
terrible.
It was so wrong. The casting.
Bison was the guy they were all fighting, wasn't it?
And
Bison was the guy. I can't remember who played it, but he was the guy they were all fighting. But I remember having like E Honda and all these people. But I think they changed him from being instead of being like Samoan, what he should be.
Yeah,
they were just using that as an example. They changed him to something else.
Yeah, they just threw him in.
It was
and made their storylines completely different. It was so bad.
Apparently, the soundtrack was all LL Cool J, and it got released on Def Jam. Yeah, but I don't remember any tunes from Street Fighter. Man.
I just remember it was a really bad.
It was a poor attempt of a computer game.
It was terrible.
It was so bad.
You could put Mortal Kombat in with that, I think.
Yeah, you probably can. I don't think I ever saw that.
I unfortunately went to the cinema to see it.
You went cinema?
Yeah, don't ask me why.
Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, Mortal Kombat can go with that.
You mentioned Mario Brothers though. That was back in '93. They did actually make a Mario Brothers movie. The two plumbers from Brooklyn.
That's what I said earlier.
It's like that. It was weird, man. And it was it Bob Hoskins?
Bob Hoskins was someone else. Mario,
and I remember that the main dude they were fighting was King Koopa, and that was played by Easy Rider, dude. What's geezer out of Easy Rider?
Easy Rider.
And Speed.
Oh, Dennis Hopper.
Dennis Hopper.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Why would you, Dennis Hopper, man? Why would he have done a film like? My God.
That's right.
And that was the first Hollywood film to be directly based on a video game. It was the first time they tried. Let's take a video game and try and make a movie.
That was so bad.
It was terrible, man. Bombed at the box office.
So bad. And they thought they could try Street Fighter and just destroyed it. It was
bad.
It was no relation to the computer game at all.
Yeah. They got Bob Hoskins. That was it. Not who I said. Who did I say earlier?
Who did we say? And we all agreed as well.
Yeah, it wasn't. It was Bob Hoskins.
It was. Who did we say? It sounded right.
No, Danny DeVito. I think I said or someone.
We've got to listen back to that again.
Yeah. But no, it was Bob Hoskins.
Who did we say?
I don't know. Can't even think.
Because Because whoever you said,
you would agree with it.
I saw Bob Hoskins.
Yeah, so did
I was going
I.
to talk about Roger Rabbit.
I saw Bob Hoskins as well.
So
I said a man.
who did we all agree?
I don't know. We'll have to listen back. That's messed up.
That is messed up.
But yeah, Bob Hoskins was one of the plumbers in it, and him and the guy.
One of the plumbers. He was Mario.
He was Mario. Yeah, one of the plumbers. He was Mario. All right. Bob Hoskins was Mario. And another guy, John somebody was Luigi. But in an interview with the guy who played Luigi, he said they had to get drunk on set. They had to get drunk on set, while it was going on, because it was just to get through the experience. They had to like drink through it. It was
just a payday, wasn't it?
And then, Nintendo thought, we can't. That's one of our games. That's terrible. Yeah. But they tried it again this year, Pikachu, and that's done all right, really, isn't it? The Pikachu detective movie.
I don't know.
I think it done all right, man.
Well, they're bringing out Sonic the Hedgehog.
Would that be Sega?
Again?
No, not again. Because when they originally brought it out, people complained on a test screen that it doesn't look like Sonic, so they've redone it.
Didn't that one come out yet?
No, it didn't come out. It nearly came out.
I thought that one had come out.
But people didn't like how it
I know
looked.
they were going to change it. I heard they were going to change the legs. And make it
yeah.
Seems like long, slinky legs. And
they messed it up.
A little short hedgehog.
Yeah. So no,
these computer game crossovers. Some of them don't work.
Mate, I don't know any of them that's worked. And, Resident Evil,
they're watchable.
They work.
I've seen a couple of them. They're watchable.
I'll tell you what, the actual game
because the girl's not too
was
bad.
so much more scarier than the
game
actual
was
film.
wicked. First couple of games were wicked.
Yeah.
There's a new one coming out, which I'm tempted. I haven't played games for a while, but I'm tempted to have a go at this new one just to see if they can bring that suspense back.
Yeah, I don't think the film.
That atmosphere was.
The
wicked.
film didn't do the game justice at all, because the game was. I don't know. I was really into it at the time. You played that with the sound up and the lights off, and it was scared the shit out of you.
That was
proper.
Good. The old Umbrella Corp.
Yeah.
Whoever they were.
Yeah, man. So again, another film that flopped in the 90s that come from a cartoon franchise, which I heard that Disney are making another remake of it.
Having another bite.
Inspector Gadget.
No, I weren't keen on that when that come out, man. Love the cartoon.
Love the cartoon.
Was brilliant.
When you hear that Inspector Gadget film's coming out, you're excited. When you see what it's going to look like
live
and stuff,
action.
it's just that. I'm telling you, the 90s had the ideas, but not the execution in the 90s. Didn't have technology yet to make a good film.
No. That must have been one of them
Inspector Gadget
early.
should have been left alone, mate.
That must have been one of them early. Let's turn a cartoon into a film. I can't really think of many films.
Master of the Universe, mate.
Must have been Master of the Universe, yeah.
That was in the 80s
That was
podcast.
the first, try and change a cartoon, But this was Disney's attempt as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Disney's attempt at trying to do a live action 80s cartoon. And it was terrible.
Yeah.
It was awful.
But that's why they're trying again. I can't. Yeah, I don't. I
had a talking car in it, if I remember. Sure, there was a car or something that talked.
But I just thought they cast Inspector Gadget wrong with Matthew Broderick. You know what?
Yeah.
I was thinking they should have chose Chevy Chase or something to be Inspector Gadget. That that would have worked much better.
He wasn't the car. He's not right for the character.
Isn't it supposed to be cheesy because it's a kids?
Yeah, anyway. And we were kids.
And
it did, and it was rubbish.
Yeah, they should have aimed it more at the cartoon. Whereas that was a bit like a Judge Dredd as well, where you never saw Dr. Claw, but in this, I'm sure you saw him. You see all of him.
I don't think
he wasn't just a hand on the table. Like
I don't think I watched enough to even remember who if Dr. Claw was in it, man. You know. But
Gadget.
one that I'm going to add to a list, because I thought about it earlier when we was talking about Stallone being Judge Dredd, and Stallone did make a few corny films in the 90s, man. Stop or Mum Will Shoot.
It's bad.
The Specialist. But one that was really bad for me, and a lot of people liked it though, was Demolition Man.
Nah, I hate that film,
weren't good.
Demolition Man was so.
They weren't good. No.
Why?
Apart from who was the female?
Wesley Snipes is in it. Sandra Bullock was in it.
Apart from Sandra Bullock, the other two are adult actors. They should be an 18 rated film. Stallone and Snipes. You don't have them in a.
It was just.
It was
It was like he was Judge Dredd without the helmet.
It was bad. Sandra Bullock weren't good in it.
Man was
it was where you got like a ticket for swearing, innit?
Yeah.
You had to pull a ticket or something. That film was weak, man.
It was just
It had a soundtrack though. Who done the soundtrack?
Sting done the soundtrack.
Yeah, I'm thinking there was a bit of hip hop in there as well.
There was hip hop on it as well, but Sting had a song.
I remember the soundtrack coming out before, and I bought the soundtrack, and then the film was a letdown.
Mate, it was. It had all the hype because at that time Wesley Snipes was the man from New Jack City and
doing a film with Stallone sounds good.
That sounds like a good combination. It's a sci-fi police film kind of. Mate, it was bad.
Yeah.
I'll say 90s just didn't hit the nail on the head when it came to that genre.
No, yeah.
That sci-fi, that space, that it just wasn't working back then, man.
You saying Matthew Broderick earlier with the other film? That's reminding me of Godzilla, '98, man.
That was a letdown.
You know what?
Bad.
That's another film I only watched about 15 minutes of.
That was bad, man. Straight away, it's like, Matthew Broderick in a disaster movie. Like, what's that about? Like, that don't sound right.
I didn't.
And then it's the biggest big budget Hollywood remake that's supposed to be all about Godzilla. Godzilla ain't even in it.
Yeah,
he's in the last little bit.
Yeah,
I think he's
she's in it. It's a she, isn't it?
What is it?
Godzilla's a female.
Oh, it might be. I don't know.
Yeah, Godzilla's a female.
It's got 11 minutes screen time throughout the whole film. And majority of that's at the end when it finally gets to. If I remember, it's the one where it's just swimming.
Yeah.
The whole film, it's swimming to where it's got to get to, and then it gets there at the end to help or do whatever. It's terrible.
Did you go cinema see that, Stokes?
I get the feeling I might have done. No,
that was a video from me. I think.
I think Godzilla was one of the first movies to maybe come out on DVD.
Okay.
Possibly around that time, yeah.
So I might have watched it. I was working at a place where we were doing home cinema, so I might watch it. And that was still rubbish though.
It was bad, yeah. It was bad.
Mate.
It was like Independence Day, just full of cheesy dialogue and just it was bad.
I kind of like Independence Day though.
Oh, Independence.
I like the story,
wait, I'm gonna throw it. Was that made in the 90s?
Yeah.
That's getting dashed in. I'm sorry.
Was that in the 90s?
Independence Day was
it's
corny.
That's what I'm saying. It's corny. It's as corny as Godzilla.
Independence Day was corny as hell, man.
No, you're right. It is.
Look back on it. Yeah, flashback on that movie.
Yeah, I have. I literally have just flashbacks on it.
Yeah, it's corny.
I forgot all about that. Belongs in the corny bin, man.
Drags him back to the face.
Yeah, I didn't like that film at all. And that was hyped up, like Will Smith's major films after Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and stuff. And it was like so much hype. You know, you wanted to see something. You wanted to. It was the closest thing to V.
Though.
You know what I mean? It's closest thing to V. Aliens coming down and you have to fight.
For special effects.
I can't even remember the special effects.
Well, the ship. The way
anyone
it was,
could do ships.
Yeah,
man.
Well, I don't know. It was
done good shit.
It was an advancement on special effects. And I think that's why some of these movies get that hype because it's like
how you would say Men in Black then. Was it like,
is Men in Black 90s?
That's got to be in the 90s.
Well, if it is, that's going
in there.
Yeah, I agree. That should be in there. All right, look at something like what's the one?
Anything Will Smith 90s? Pen in the bin.
What's the film with the blue people?
Avatar.
That got major hype because like one of the first 3D movies and the gravity.
Yeah.
It's cack.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So they're always going to have these movies that are going to get hyped because
like Jaws in 3D.
It's the next. It's the next advancement in technology or in CGI or whatever.
Mate, corn on corn, man.
Yeah, Will Smith, you done some clangers in the 90s, man. Thinking about it.
But there were box office hits.
Yeah.
But it just didn't. Wild Wild West is that
Wild
90s
West.
too?
That's definitely got to go in there.
Wild
West. There was some corny
movies.
Kind of Men in Black.
It was aimed at us as well. We're in our 20s then, man. It's aimed at us as well, man. It was aimed at us, and it was just, mate.
But then you had some, people we love like Axel Foley. He had a third film come out in the 90s, didn't he?
Beverly Hills Cop
3.
You know what? I stopped watching it when he was on like the big wheel, hanging off the big wheel. But what's he doing at Fun Fair?
At Wally World or wherever he was.
Oh my God. When I saw him hanging off a big wheel with the same baseball jacket, I said, loud.
Oh, yeah.
I can't watch no more,
It was bad. I heard that apparently like he was going through a bit of a bad patch in his life anyway, and he didn't really want to film it. Like he was quite miserable.
You can see it in the film.
You can see it in the film, innit? You can see it. Hearing that now, you can see it in the film.
Yeah, it's bad.
It's bad. And the original plot was meant to be all done in London. They were meant to be coming to an international police convention in London, and Bogomil, remember in a Bogomil, he gets kidnapped from this international police convention in London, and that brings Rosewood, Taggart, and Foley to London to search for him. That was the original plot. And then I think budgets and whatever, and it ended up just being that. Was it Wally World or somewhere?
Yeah, something like that.
It was. Oh man, that was bad.
Corn on corn.
That was.
Airplane.
That's not 90s, man.
No, it's not.
70s, 80s, isn't it?
That's 70s, 80s.
There's another Arnie one we can chuck in.
What's that?
How about Last Action Hero, 93? I think I was late seeing this film.
Razor as well.
Didn't appeal to me at the time.
Razor, like 90s as well.
Razor would be 90s probably.
That was rubbish.
I can't remember much of that.
I can't remember.
That was when some crocodiles smashed out in a shopping centre, wasn't it?
Was it? And that Last Action Hero?
No, that was Erasure, I think. Last Action Hero is where it's the kid at the cinema with the magic cinema ticket.
Oh my God! That
And
film
he goes
was so
in.
bad.
I think he brings Arnie back to our world or something. I don't know. It's odd though.
A bit like how they brought He-Man.
Yeah, it's odd, man. Didn't like that film. The only good thing in it is they'd done a lot of. I think there was a lot of cameos in it. I'm sure like Sharon Stone's in it as.
There's a lot of cameos. I think Van Damme was in it. Yeah, it was a
like,
corny
just
film.
in the backgrounds. Like,
and I say
that
there
the
was
only thing
something
that
about the 90s films in Hollywood that was just. It was too. Everything was too red and too bright and too big.
It was quite red and bright.
It was, but not a nice way. It was. It was
trying to be too glitzy.
Don't get me wrong.
like
The 90s also there was a flip side, and like when independent film directors came onto the scene, or classic directors. For instance, like 90s is the decade of Goodfellas. You know, it's the introduction of Tarantino films. It's Usual Suspects. So you had gems. Carlito's Way. You had gems, but they were adult films.
Yeah.
But films for like teenagers and that, it was weak.
It was weak. That's where
I
all
can only think of a handful of teenage like family films that were good in the 90s, man. A lot of people probably going to disagree with me. Ninja Turtles was cack. You know, there was so much cack around. All these films that were bigged up from cartoons or from comic books, from superheroes, they were all weak.
I'll chuck Armageddon in there. That's another big family film, but I thought it was so predictable. Like it was so, you know.
Armageddon,
That's
Con
a
Air.
Michael Bay film.
Con Air,
Con Air's another
Face
one.
Off.
You're not a fan of Nicolas
No,
Cage, are
not
you?
at all.
Like
All of them, man. Gone in
Face Off,
60 seconds.
They're remaking Face Off as well.
Nah, allow it. That was rubbish.
That doesn't need to be made, man.
Just corn
Leave it
on
that way
corn.
it
I
is,
remember
yeah.
there was a film with Nicolas Cage and Sean Connery, The Rock.
The Rock, yeah, that's probably my
that was
favourite
rubbish.
film.
I
of
didn't
his
like
I've
that
seen.
either.
Nah.
That's probably the best one of his I've seen. Then.
Nah,
I didn't like
But
it.
no, his film's a bit weak for me, man.
You know.
Just that superhero film with him is watchable.
Yeah.
But he ain't one of the best people in it. It's more the girl and the boy, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's kick-ass.
There were some weak films in the 90s, man. But how many did we go through there, man? Ladies and gentlemen, I think we went overboard and didn't give you the top 10. We just rambled
went
on about weak. But there's so much. It was so much corny movie. So let us know if you agree or disagree with what we said, because we could go on for ages about this. But there was so much bloody corn. I'm Mr. Lucas.
I'm Chris.
I'm Stacks.
And we out till next time.
Peace.
Peace.